Ready for a deep dive into a real turning point in history? We're tackling the crisis at Capernaum today, straight from the Urantia Book, paper 153. Just try to imagine it with me. A packed synagogue, buzzing with anticipation. This is no ordinary gathering.
It's crucial to grasp the context here. See, the Urantia book portrays this palpable shift. Like, even Jesus' own followers could sense something major was brewing. They were used to him being this calming presence, and now he's withdrawn, contemplative. Can you picture the disciples witnessing this unusual intensity?
And what sparked this tension? Well, word's gotten around about Jesus feeding 5,000 people. I mean, this miracle had everyone whispering about the Messiah. Then Jesus kind of throws everyone for a loop by refusing to be made king. Enter the Pharisees and Sadducees sent straight from Jerusalem. Talk about adding fuel to an already volatile situation.
And we're not talking just any religious figures here. The Pharisees, they were known for their strict adherence to Jewish law. The Sadducees, often more politically driven, concerned with maintaining power within the temple system. Their very presence elevates this event from a local sermon to, like, a high-stakes showdown.
And Jesus, knowing all of this, doesn't shy away from it at all. He kicks things off by reading from Deuteronomy and from Jeremiah, zeroing in on those passages about turning away from God. And it wasn't just the words themselves, but that weight they carried, a stark reminder of the covenant with God and the consequences of straying from it.
It's like he's directly challenging their most deeply held beliefs, pushing them to confront this possibility of veering off course. Remember, these texts, they held immense religious and cultural weight for everyone listening.
Building on this already charged atmosphere, Jesus introduces a metaphor that's going to become central to his teachings. He's the bread of life. He takes this relatable concept, physical hunger, and connects it to a much deeper spiritual need.
It's honestly a brilliant rhetorical move. He's basically saying, look, what I offer nourishes not just your physical body, but your very soul. It's about recognizing a yearning that runs far deeper than, like, just our basic human needs.
But the Pharisees, true to form, aren't just going to let that slide. They start challenging Jesus about his origins, trying to discredit him right there in public. It's like this battle of words, a verbal sparring match with neither side backing down.
And his response, crucial. He doesn't shy away from declaring his unity with God. That's a bold statement, one that just ramps up the tension with the authorities even more.
It's like someone just cranked the volume up to 11, right? Then the Pharisees, they try to trap Jesus with this question about hand-washing rituals. A major point of contention back then. You can practically hear them thinking, gotcha.
And his answer just cuts right through the noise of empty ritual to the very heart of faith. He says, in essence, it's not outward actions, but what's in your heart. This right here, it reveals a core theme of his teachings, true faith. It's not about blindly following rules, but inner transformation, aligning your actions with genuine love and compassion.
It's such a powerful message, and I can only imagine how unexpected that must have been for a lot of people in that synagogue.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't just a minor disagreement. He was challenging the very foundation of their understanding of faith and piety, a complete upheaval of their worldview.
I just can't imagine the reactions in that room. The whispers, the bewildered looks after a statement like that.
You know, the Urantia book talks about Jesus' disciples being particularly shaken by this.
Really?
Yeah, they were so used to hearing about love and compassion from him, not these direct confrontations, you know?
Like a whole new side of him.
It challenged the very core of their religious system.
I bet it felt like the rug was pulled out from under them. One minute it's all hope and healing, and the next you're questioning everything you thought you knew about faith.
Exactly. It's a major turning point. And not just for, like, Jesus' ministry, but for everyone there. They're being forced to make a choice. Cling to the old ways or embrace this new, more demanding path to faith.
And for some people, that was just too much to handle. The Urantia book even talks about this mass exodus. After the sermon, people were just leaving in droves. All that initial excitement replaced with disillusionment.
It's understandable, though, right? They show up expecting one thing, maybe miracles or a political revolution, and they get something totally different.
A teacher who's challenging their deepest beliefs and demanding they take a good, hard look at themselves.
And let's be real, not everyone's ready for that kind of introspection.
It's interesting, though, even with all this happening, Jesus' closest followers, they stuck around. But even they were deeply affected by this. The Urantia book even specifically mentions Judas Iscariot at this point.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of chilling, actually. The book suggests that this sermon, with all the talk about challenging authority and this inner demanding faith, it planted the first seeds of doubt in Judas's mind.
Seeds that would ultimately lead to betrayal.
It's a pretty stark reminder of how complex we are, even those who dedicate themselves to something bigger than themselves. Doubts, conflicting beliefs, the weight of expectations. It can really test anyone's faith.
For sure.
It's like Jesus sensed this reaction coming because instead of, softening his message or backing down, he doubles down. People demand a sign, proof, something undeniable, and he just refuses.
Which is huge when you think about his whole life story. It's this foreshadowing of the even bigger trials he'll face, how he values faith over proof, and ultimately his willingness to sacrifice everything rather than compromise what he believes in.
Yeah, it's like he's saying true understanding isn't about signs or miracles. It's about looking inward, confronting your doubts, and choosing faith even when things are uncertain.
Exactly. He's pushing them and us to move past this need for tangible proof. It's about a deeper commitment, a transformation from within.
It really makes you think, how often do we get caught up in the more superficial things in life? The comforts, outward appearances, always needing validation.
Instead of looking for that true spiritual nourishment, it's something we all struggle with, right? We want comfort, security, proof. But the crisis at Capernaum, it offers something different. It nourishes the soul.
It's a call to action then, to look at our own beliefs, our own motivations.
It really is a call to action that starts by looking inward. The crisis at Capernaum is not just some event from the past, It's like this mirror reflecting how we deal with faith, with doubt, finding the strength to really change from within.
You can practically feel it, right? Everyone leaving the synagogue, this unease hanging in the air. The weight of those decisions, the ones they've made and the ones still to come.
Especially for the disciples, imagine trying to process all that. The crowd's gone, the confusion, the weight of what Jesus said, completely unexpected. And yet, a chance for some serious spiritual growth.
It's like he doesn't try to protect them from any of it. Even when they're clearly doubting, struggling, he gives them space to figure things out for themselves.
Yeah, he could have just reassured them, toned down his message. But that wouldn't have created the kind of strong, unshakable faith they'd need. Because the crisis of Capernaum, this is just the beginning. Bigger challenges are coming.
And the Urantia book makes that very clear. It describes how, even as Jesus is speaking, some of his followers, not just people on the sidelines, but those actively working with him, they start distancing themselves.
It reminds us that believing isn't a finish line, it's a journey, right? There'll be doubts, questions, even for the most devoted. It's how we handle those moments that really shows our faith.
It's a message for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Real faith, it means constantly examining, being willing to face those tough questions and have the courage to step into the unknown.
This deep dive into the crisis at Capernaum, it's more than just retelling history. It's a timeless message about what faith really means, the role of doubt, the choices we make when the world suddenly looks different.
So here's something to think about. Imagine you're in that synagogue, listening to Jesus give this really challenging sermon. Knowing what you know now, how would it change your view of faith? Your actions? The choices you make in your own life really makes you think, doesn't it?